your next big idea is hiding under the dumbest idea you've had today. Yeah, that's right. Sometimes your own personal judgment can keep you stuck in a creative block. Isn't that right, Francine?
That is absolutely right. Because when you overthink things, it's like you can't see the forest because the tree's in the way, and the tree is the overthinking. And what's behind that tree is all those great ideas that are lost.
So it is time for us to step through a portal into clarity.
Yay! I
Yay!
am having so much fun with these portal parties. We literally watched the light bulb turn on yesterday. I want one of the ladies in my children's authors group emailed me and said, "I quit. That's it. I'm done," because she got some negative feedback about the book she was writing. And then first thing we had to do is go in and change that mindset because there's no such thing as bad feedback. No
That's
such
right.
thing as bad feedback. And then as Heidi and I just talked her through the process, she got it just like poof. You could just see the excitement on her face when everything just shifted, when she stepped through that portal.
That's right. I love how you are explaining this as a portal party, this whole concept that you came up with, because it's that aha moment that you get. It's this feeling that you can only describe by being like, aha, eureka, a light bulb moment. And and stepping through a portal describes it perfectly. It's one of my favorite moments when I'm working with people, to see that moment, that second where everything just kind of lights up. Their expression lights up. You see this weight just lifted off of their shoulders. And, if we met in person, I'm probably watching them skip away as they go out to their car.
Right? Well, she went from I'm going to quit to rewriting this children's book in a couple hours.
You got an update?
Yes, I got the update. It is brilliant now, just from us asking her questions and giving her feedback.
That is incredible. I love it. She was definitely so bogged down when we started, so that's very exciting
It's
to hear.
exciting. It is. It's exciting, and I teach an in-person class on Monday mornings at a senior center, and to watch them go from my life's boring, but my kids want me to write about it, to, oh, you know what? My life wasn't that boring after all, after just going back and forth asking questions.
Yeah, that makes me think that I need to do that with my parents, because I also ask them to write stories and they think their life is boring. So I didn't even put that two and two together until you said something.
Are
I
they
know
in
some parents that need some help with this
are they in Wisconsin or in Orange Park?
in Wisconsin.
Ah, a little too far to drive for my in-person class, but you know what? Maybe I could set up a class on Zoom for seniors who want to write their life story for their kids.
Ooh, that would be good. That would be
Or
some good
better
stuff.
yet, maybe they could get started in the Believe You Can.
Of course they can. So this week I was working on my story, and I've got a nice start to it. It looks like a story at the beginning now. It's not just a bunch of crazy notes on a piece of paper. And then it turns into kind of this outline where I know where I want this story to go and where I want it to end up. But that's what it needed to be worked on for my next sit down with writing it. And so I was in the part where I wanted to lay out the lessons that I had learned from this experience. And as soon as I was clear that I was going to do that, everything was gone. It was like big flash of light in my brain, and no, I couldn't think anything. I was like, I clearly learned nothing from this situation. That's where I was at. And so today I wanted to talk a little bit about some different writing processes that you could use that will, again, change your perspective and get you writing again. So one of the things that I did, and I think they call it a mind map, and I was going to look it up before we live streamed because I wasn't sure if that's exactly what it was, but
It is.
I wrote the word jail in the middle of a piece of paper and I drew a circle around it. And I'm like, okay, what did I learn here? So then I drew a line, and I think I wrote something like more empathy for other people in situations that they're going through. That was one thing that I wrote down. And then I just wrote down quick little ideas around the page. Some of them ended up like turning into this big blob of writing, and I don't wish anyone to try to interpret it except for me, but I think I have it enough mapped out now where you can go back and make it make sense to the rest of the world when they read it. So I'm going to work on that before the next portal party so that I can read it and get some feedback on it. But I was going to ask you, Francine, besides like doing a mind map, what are some other different approaches to getting all of the crazy thoughts out so that you can organize it?
Some people just write. They set a clock for 5 or 10 minutes and write anything that pops in your head, no matter how crazy it is. So remember what Heidi said when we started today? Your next idea is hiding behind your crazy thought. You never know. Write it down. Don't think it's too crazy to write down on the paper, because you never know. That could spark the next best idea. And then another thing, I like to make lists. I make lists, and then I start drawing lines on how they connect together. And then I'll take that list and start filling in and make it more descriptive. So I might just start with 10 words, and then how the words go together. Then say 2 of the words are dog park. Then I might say the dogs went to the park and they had fun running and playing. And then that starts tying in with other stuff. And then I might say, oh, this isn't what the story is about. The real part, the story I really want to tell is how I found this dog, why this dog is important to me. Going to the park is just what we do. Let's tell everyone why this dog is so important.
Because there really is no right or wrong answer, or the story has to go in this direction or that direction.
No. And another thing I like doing is journaling. And all that is finding some question that gets your mind going on how you would answer that question. Because like I said, as you're answering that question, other things are going to run through your mind too.
So ask a different question and get a better answer.
Or not better answer, because they're all good answers, but ask a different question and you will get another answer. And the answer doesn't even have to be related. Say in my journaling, I have a journaling book, 29 questions or 30 questions to boost your creativity. So one of the questions is about your childhood. Well, you might not be writing about your childhood, but coming up with a happy memory from childhood could trigger a thought about a similar memory as an adult.
Ah, yes. I see where you're going with this. So even though it's completely unrelated, much like when a song pops on the radio and all of a sudden you're transformed to that time and
Yeah,
space of where you
yeah.
were the first time you heard it, it's kind of the same. You're transporting your brain to a different perspective, a different environment from where you were before to get ideas.
You could even do that when you're down in the dumps. Think about a time in your life when you were just so happy, and just think about everything about that moment that made you happy and why you were happy. And that's going to trigger chemicals in your brain, and it's going to change your mood. It's going to
But
change that emotion that's in you, and you won't be upset anymore. Just like Sue yesterday. And then all of a sudden, yes.
that's very true. And, you know, there is, I was going to say about judgment, how much that plays into cramping our creativity. So you said it, not better. Even I have a tendency to want to phrase things of like, did I write this well? Is this good or bad? And I think that when you're in this creative process, when you're in your revisions and your stages of writing, you've just got to put that judgment over there on the shelf for a minute and just go play. Because remember when you were a kid, there was not so much of this judgment for yourself, maybe for other people. And it just is what it is. And you enjoyed it while you were in that moment. And then you were on to the next moment and the next moment. So how to tap back into, I would say, play almost. So one thing that I've done in the past also is to just color or do something that I really haven't done since I've been a kid before. And these kind of things will spark crazy ideas that I guess were hidden behind 10 minutes of jump roping.
Well, let's go back to that dog park. When I used to have a bad day at work, I would come home and grab the wine and tell my dogs, go away. I don't feel like it. When I changed that mindset and I went out and played with the dogs instead, that shifted my mood so much more effectively, and so much in such a more healthy way than drinking the wine.
Mm-hmm.
So go, you know, a piece of advice I got early on in my metamorphosis from this angry person I was to who I am now was go play like a dog. Because what does a dog do? They sniff at that, they go look at that, they jump and play. Daisy will just do figure eights around the yard acting crazy. I'm not telling anyone to go run around your yard and figure eights, because your neighbors might. Who cares what your neighbors think? Go do it.
Go do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we don't reserve space for our creativity. And this creativity space is very healthy for us. And it is not contained to sitting down and writing, I've got to get this done. It's not performance based, I guess. A lot of times we feel like it is, and there is all of this other judgment. But when you start to use creativity, like you were saying, Francine, and you change your perspective and you went out and started playing with the dogs, when you realize that something as simple as Writing on a piece of paper doesn't necessarily have to be a published book to give you a lot of satisfaction and improve your health. But once you get these kind of, I guess you peel off the layers of the onion as you go deeper and deeper, you start to realize in these quiet moments how not everybody is experiencing life this way. They're running and they're hustling and they're distracted by all this stuff. They don't really know who they are. They aren't doing what they were meant to be doing. They're stuck in a job that they don't like. And it's stories that you discover in the quiet time from these same examples, because you've probably lived through some of this too, that you can finally realize for yourself how valuable these quiet moments are and these stories are. But then it turns and you want to be able to share these stories. And so that's where going past the portal parties, that's fun. That's awesome. We get to connect. We get to see the light bulb go off. But the Believe You Can book anthology is now taking it to that next level of teaching, mentoring, legacy, and what you're all about. And maybe you're even writing something, maybe your story is not even about you. Maybe you're going to write a fictional story for the anthology. But maybe there's a message there that you really wanted to get across. And you were going to do it that way with your creativity. There are so many ways that you can reach out and connect with another human being and change the way that their life is going to go moving forward. And this is the kind of thing that we're really working to achieve with our anthology project. Yes, we want to have fun. Yes, we're going to have fun. Yes, we are already having fun.
We're having fun. Yeah.
And yes, we're going to learn a whole bunch of things about publishing and writing and how to reach out to people to tell our story and social
And branding.
media, branding, so many things, so many steps. Maybe that's a reason why you haven't published your story up to this point. We're going to have all that encompassed in this, but with a greater reaching purpose, that these stories are really going to make a difference. And there are people that are out there right now that are waiting to hear these stories. I feel an obligation, I have felt for a long time, to tell the story that I'm going to tell in this book anthology. And it hasn't been easy for me. And so I really appreciate this particular collaboration because I can get outside of my own head and my own perspective, because sometimes these other brainstorming tools that we were talking about still don't help me get to the answer because I am stopped by that self-judgment. So, with all that being said and revealed to you all out there, don't feel like you have to do this all by yourself. This is a way that people have bonded for a very long time. Stories around the campfire and passing stories down from generation to generation, which we were just talking about that earlier, Francine, with the parents. So, to bring it all back around, stories bring us together. And this is a great opportunity for you to make some new friends, make some new people, or meet some new people that maybe you can collaborate with in the future, create with in the future, and be part of something bigger than yourself.
You know, today I was writing some content speaking to entrepreneurs. A lot of entrepreneurs talk about their products. They talk about their business integrity. They talk about why people should buy from them. But they don't tell who they are. And I know that I will buy from somebody quicker if I know why they started that business than them just telling me about how great their product is. This is your platform to write about you and brand yourself, because people want to buy from people they know, like, and trust. But you have to build that know, like, and trust factor first. And writing content talking about how great your product is isn't going to build trust, because until they get to know you, why should they believe you that you're saying your product's the greatest?
And you get lost. There's so many people doing what you do. So you're like, oh, well, I'm going to talk about what makes me different. However, if you're talking about what makes you different the same way that everyone else is talking about what makes you different, it's not really. And if you're spending all of your time just consumed with your work and you're not enjoying any of your hobbies, or you're not letting any of those other parts of you, the kid part, the play part, the things that really make you spark up sometimes, when you do them, you can incorporate all of these pieces into what you're already doing with your business. And instead of it being this, I have to find this balance, it's more like I'm just doing all of it all the time. You can be yourself in your business. And in fact, that is what is going to make you stand out among the other people that are doing exactly the same thing you are.
It's funny, as a children's author and as a self-help author, it never occurred to me that people really wanted my military stories, because it really, to me at the time, didn't have anything to do with what I was writing about. But then I thought about it, it really is who I am. And these stories of my time in the military led up to, number one, where I started and how I thought through that process. Because when I started writing, I was getting ready to retire. And the reason I was looking for something new to do is because, as an aircraft electrician for the military and running into my 60th birthday, I knew I could no longer do that physical type of work. But it was a little identity crisis, saying, okay, who am I now? And that's what took me on this path of self-discovery, where I wrote the 6-step process of personal change, which was the foundation of my self-help books for adults turned into my children's books. Well, I have to tell those military stories so people get an idea of how I got there in the beginning. Just like if Heidi just told you I was in jail, blah, 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 and this is how I got out. People want to know, well, what'd you do to get in there? What led up to you getting where you were?
Mhm.
So that's one thing I like to tell people when they're writing their story. It's not just about what you did. We want to know the feelings, the emotions that got you there in the first place.
Yeah. And I think for me, when I hear other people telling these stories and I want to know the emotion behind it, I'm really like just searching to see if I'm not alone in certain things. Like, did someone else really feel like I did in a similar like situation? And
Right?
there's something to that. Even when people are telling a bad bad situation story, this bad thing happened to me, and they're being open and honest about their feelings in that situation. I was always taught that we kind of put up a wall and we hide that. We don't go to that next deeper level. We tell the story, but we don't go to that next level of feeling and emotion. But that's really where everything connects for all of us. We all understand that because we all have very similar emotions. And once you start realizing that everybody's kind of going through their own like head emotion crisis from time to time throughout the day, you really start to look at some of the interactions with people differently. You start communicating with people differently.
And you start communicating with yourself differently.
Yeah.
Because face it, you are your own worst critic. And that's one great thing about the portal parties is getting an outside view of what you're doing because you are your own worst critic. Like Sue got a little bit of negative feedback, and that threw her down this rabbit hole of, oh my God, my work sucks. Maybe I'm just not meant to write books. But all she needed was a little shift of perspective, being asked the right question, saying, oh, that's a really good idea. But what if you go there with it instead of there? So changing perspective. That's the name of change of perspective is the name of my speech I'm doing in the international speech contest.
Nice. When is that?
Saturday.
Ooh, so we get to hear about that next week?
Yes, get to hear if I move on to the next level.
Awesome. That's super exciting. Well, you know what? We also have some more portal parties coming up that I want to tell you about. And if you hold on a second, I'm sharing my screen here. This is our website. And we've got one coming up on January 26th at 4 p.m.
Correct.
And that's a Monday.
Because Mark McGraw asked for it. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. And then we have another one coming up on Tuesday, January 27th at 2 p.m.
Because somebody specifically asked for that.
Yes, yes. And you'll see when you come to the website that for you to get your own portal party, you just need to email us. Or what are we doing in the online space? We're commenting portal party.
Come and party. Tell us
Party.
when you're available, and we will try to schedule one that fits for you.
And then you can invite your friends, and we'll invite our friends, and we'll have this nice, safe brainstorming space where you too can have an aha moment and step through your own portal.
Yes.
And we're going to mention that you don't have to be part of the book anthology to join us. This is for anyone who's writing anything. You could be writing web copy. You could be writing, well, your life story for your children. You could be writing an article. All kinds of different ways that writing is used. And it's so nice to just get some feedback once in a while. So join us for a portal party. Sign up for your own. Is that everything we needed to cover today, Francine?
I think that was all that we had planned to cover. We said a lot today, didn't we?
We did.
And what I'd like to invite, please in the chat, tell us if anything resonated with you. Please tell us where you're tuning in from so we can know where our people are. And then also in the chat, tell us if you want more information about how to join this Believe You Can anthology project and start collaborating with us.
Yeah. So, if you can conceive it, you can believe it, and you can achieve it.
From the head to the heart to the hands.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. See you at a portal party or next week